the salient points will be at the whereby the salient points will be at the introductory paragraph, or you use the other method whereby you start with interesting story or interesting write up and end with the most important parts at the bottom. That is what differentiates journalistic writing from other writing.
Okay, actually, I have logged in from my laptop also just to record. Okay, so but since there is voice issues, so I'll be speaking over my phone, the Google Meet that I've logged in over phone. But just for recording sake, I have opened my laptop also. The audio is an issue, which is why I'm like recording through. I mean, I'm speaking over the phone. So as they said, there's a lot of difference between, um, as people suggested, there is a lot of difference between journalistic writing as well as the general writing. Am I clear on? I mean, have I understood you clear about what your suggestion is or what your understanding of writing is? Hello? Is somebody speaking or it's just a. Okay. So
You
let's
can
get
go
on to
ahead.
a class. So let's get on to the class. So ours is we are going to try and understand what is actually meant by writing. So writing for media is slightly different from the normal writing, mainly because it has to be slightly more focused. It has to be communicative. It has generally people should understand. For example, I tell you, there is a person is traveling by train. Person is traveling by train. So if I have to tell you that he is in locomotion, I'm telling you he is in locomotion, and I tell you he is traveling by train. Which is more communicative? Which one do you feel of these two is more communicative to the larger masses? He is in locomotion or he is traveling by train? Which is more easy to understand?
The second one, he's traveling by train.
Hmm. That is more easy to understand.
Yes.
Yeah, that is more easy to understand, mainly because it is simple. So first and foremost, you have to ask the question to yourself, the purpose for which you are writing. What is the purpose that I'm writing this article for? Is it for me or is it somebody else? Or is it for the larger masses? What is it that I'm writing this for? So that particular aspect has to be clear in your mind, the purpose of why you're writing this. So that is one of the three key elements of writing. First is purpose. The next, second is subject matter. What are you writing about? Are you writing about something that is of human interest, something that is of utility service, something that is for knowledge? So what are you writing about, and the purpose what you're writing about? And next main important thing that you have to see is the reader or the audience. Whom are you writing it for? Are you writing it for a set of academicians? Are you writing it for scientists? Are you writing it for say the common masses? Are you writing for children? Whom are you writing it for? So the three main key elements of writing is, one is purpose, second is subject matter, third is reader or audience. And then when you're writing, you need to ask, why am I writing this piece? Who am I writing it for? And where do I source the material for it? That is, I'm just simplifying the three key elements. The three key elements I said: purpose, subject matter, reader. So you need to further, simplify it to, why am I writing this piece? That is the purpose. Who am I writing it for? That is the reader or audience. and where do I source the material for it? That comes under the domain of subject matter. What is the subject matter, and where do I get the information related to the subject matter so that I can convey so and so things to the reader concerned? So this is the key element of writing. So writing is commonly seen as a three-way process. All these things are there in your modules. I'm just reiterating that. Writing is commonly seen as a three-way process. One is pre-writing, writing, and rewriting. That is, pre-writing part, you have to do a lot of mental brainstorm. You have to ask. It's a one-way process. When you are actually when you are suppose if you are in a team and you're writing as part of a team, then it is another one thing that you can brainstorm together. Otherwise, if you are writing as a single person, or you are writing you're a reporter, you're a researcher, and you're writing it on your own, means it's an internal journey, it's an inward journey. You have to ask yourself, the pre-writing part is fully done within yourself. What is the purpose for which I'm writing? Who am I writing it for? And what is the subject matter I'm writing for? All these are pre-writing stuff which you have to explore within yourself. So writing involves three stages. One is pre-writing part, then actual writing part, and then after writing, you have to go through your writing and see if it is properly written or rewriting part. Any doubts on this? Okay. So I'm continuing. So another thing is, as I said, you have to identify your subject. It comes into the domain of subject matter. Usually, identifying your subject is not that big an issue. Why is it not an issue? If you are a reporter, it's already there in front of you. You're a beat reporter, you get the story, you have to work on it. You're a researcher, you have to research on this particular thing, that is done. Then or whatever is task that is assigned to you, you know the subject, what you are doing. You have either unearthed it yourself or you're going to do it because somebody has assigned it to you. So subject matter is something which is more or less sorted out. So you could actually go through your modules also. I'm just giving you a rough idea, a bright idea about how writing should be from my own experiences also. So when I'm actually going through this, I might give you examples from what I encountered while writing also. So entirely, if you want to see whatever I'm saying, if it is there in your modules, it may not be there. But then largely I'll cover those sections. So it is important hence to understand why you are writing a particular topic. If you are a journalist, you're writing it for, if you're writing about, say, Israel, what is the current issue going on? Israel-Palestine war. That is your topic. And whom are you writing for? There are so many people, the war is breaking out there, there's the Israel attacking Gazans, that is the Palestinians, and then you have the Hamas in a particular standoff position. They are also in a very militant way, they are looking at the whole process. So why should you be there? Why should a reporter be there? You might get killed. There are humanitarian aid workers who are being killed. About 16 of them have been killed already. Why should you be there? You need to be there because it is only through you that the world is going to get to know what is going on there. So your responsibility is that much. That is, you need to give the correct information, which is not happening right now. Many of the places you feel fake news is mounting. So that is something which you have to curb. Not just from Israel-Palestine. I mean, generally fake news is mounting, the instances of fake news. So you have to be very careful as to report the correct thing. So your duty, why do you have to write properly, is because you have to report properly. So that is your purpose. Your purpose is to actually see to it that you report properly. So that is one of the reasons why you have to identify your scripters or identify what you are writing, is because what is to be conveyed has to be clear. To whom has it to be conveyed? For what purpose has it to be conveyed? All these things have to be clear for you to identify your subject. So identification of a subject is fairly easy when you are assigned a task. Otherwise, it requires a bit of research and understanding. For example, if you are going to write a research paper, then you have to do a lot of reading, go through Google Scholar, go through this, find the research gap, find the research question, develop your own, thesis, your understanding of the whole situation, and formulate your own subject. That is a different ball game altogether. But as a journalist, often the task is right in front of you. Either you might smell it, that is that they say nose for news. If you those who are journalists here will understand that you smell news. Okay, you go into a particular scenario and feel, okay, this can be news. So it's like a nose for news or smelling news. That can be a subject, or somebody can assign it to you. So, and then you are going to write it. If you are an English journalist, you're going to write it in English, and your reach will be much more. So there is a global audience to what you're writing. So then you have to ask these questions to yourself. Will your audience understand what you're writing about? And why is it important to you that you write in such a way that they understand? So again, I'll repeat. Will your global audience understand what you're writing about? And why is it so important to you that they understand what you write? Which gives rise to the question of writing in a way that everybody would understand, or writing in a logical, chronological, coherent manner, structured manner. That is what you have to aim at when you are writing for a global audience, because you don't know how people are. There are so many different people who will read you. One will be from Africa, one will be from India, one will be from Mozambique, that's also one will be from the Southeast Asia, one will be from China. So people are from everywhere, and all of you are reading, all of them might read your article, and that one article has to satisfy so many different people. So there has to be a global, paradigm, or a structure to it that is globally accepted. So what are those? What is the way in which you can write by which everybody would understand? So that is the reason why there needs to be a structure. That is the reason why you need planning. So let us see how can you plan? How can you do the pre-writing part? The pre-writing part, first and foremost, is gathering information. So what will you do? You will go, you'll get information, you will research. I'm just talking purely from the viewpoint of from the viewpoint of a journalist. You'll gather information. When you're gathering information, you go to people, you speak to sources. You let's take this example itself. When we put forward examples, we tend to understand it better. Israel-Palestinian conflict that is going on right now. I have to write about it. I have to write about how Israel is all ready to attack Gaza completely, finish off Hamas, this as they say, and they're going to just launch themselves. You as a reporter, you have to write about it. Now, how will you gather the information? Whom will you speak to? On what basis will you bank your article on? What is the information? You have to be factual, you have to be correct, because you are going to be read by the entire world. So you can be held accountable. You are a person working for AP, AFP, or Reuters, or whatever news organization that is assigned you the task, and you're going to report. Your face, what you report, is their credibility also. So that much of responsibility is on you. So how will you actually tackle the right information, get the right information? You will speak, you will write down the names, or you will go there and get the numbers of the people who can give you the information. That is, you will write down the government officials, you will write down the experts on this matter. You will go down to the field and speak to people how they are tackling with the crisis. You yourself are a source. You are also a source. You are out in the field. So you also see things happening. There's a bomb happening. If there is a bomb going up, you don't need to know. You don't need to ask an official, is that a bomb? No, you can see that. So you are also a source. So you write about eyewitness account. First-hand account, eyewitness accounts. You speak to the people on the field. They might be humanitarian workers. They might be soldiers. They might be many different kind of people from both the sides. You make a list of people whom you will speak to, and then that is your source. Then what else? Then tell me, who else can you speak to? If suppose you have to write about an impending crisis which is looming large over an area, you'll speak to officials, you'll rely on your own account, you'll speak to eyewitness people. Whom else can you speak to? Can you give me one? You are a journalist. You're going. You're a foreign journalist. You're going there. Whom will you speak to? There can be one source. Yeah.
You can also speak to your colleagues who actually maybe were there before you or might have known much more details than you. You can also speak to your
Christine,
colleagues
right. You
about
can
it.
speak to either your colleagues or expand it a little further, the journalists from that particular place. You know, that they are also your colleagues in that sector. You can speak to people who are there, who have covered the issue before you, the people who are homegrown journalists. You can speak to them also, but you cannot trust them completely because they might also be biased. An Israeli journalist will be tilted towards Israel, a Palestinian journalist will be tilted towards Palestine, so you'll have to speak to both of them. Okay, so that is what I'm saying. Gathering information is not a small thing. That is the crux of your writing. You will have to speak to a variety of people from different sections to balance your story. So gathering information is not a small thing. You will have to gather from different sources, and then you will have to make notes of this. Then what you need to do is you need to brainstorm. What is the purpose of my article? What is it that I want to know, and how is this information helping you? That brainstorming you have to do within. And while you brainstorm, while you ask this question, and while you go through all the matter that you've collected, you are making a pattern or arrangement of the information available with you. And that arrangement of the matter that you have at hand is called an issue tree or a mind map. You can use softwares to do it. One of the softwares which we have been taught is a MindMeister software, which we can take later. It's a very easy software. Otherwise, also you can do. We all have been doing it from the time we were studying in school. You make a flow chart of the information. This is a particular issue. From this leads to this particular aspect, and from whom do you speak to get that particular information. So you make a particular flow chart, or what you call a tree, issue tree. It's very much like a family tree, a flow chart that you make about how you're going about collecting the, arranging the information that you've got. That is very important for the planning session, because that is going to be the way you're going to structure your writing. So issue or a flow chart is very important. Issue tree or a flow chart, or what they call mind map. There are softwares to do it. You can just download a software now, and you can, it's very user friendly. MindMeister is one of the apps, and start doing it. Maybe we can have an assignment on how you will arrange information on mind map. We can do that in the WhatsApp group. I'll give you a task. So next is what you do is you know your reader. After doing this, you know your reader. You have collected all information. You have listed everything. Then comes the second part is knowing your reader. Whom are you writing it for? Are you writing it for an academical purpose? Are you writing it? Are you writing a thesis? Then the approach has to be different. But if you're writing for the masses, your approach has to be different. So the matter that is there in front of you has to be arranged or has to be written keeping in mind the audience. If it is a researcher, then you have to approach the information in a very research based manner. You will need more inputs. You will need to substantiate your viewpoints. You will need to, tackle it like an academic, very academically, give opinions, or you will have to give links to the studies that has happened before. But if it is a news article, you need not do that. You have to approach it like you have to, because news articles usually take into account the quotes. Like, they will not believe if any stray person says. They will only believe if a person in authority says or eyewitness says. Then you will have to give examples from how you collected that information. This so and so person said, or when I spoke to this particular person who was injured in this attack at this moment, you will have to give exact specific details and say, I spoke to this person. From this person, I got this information. So that kind of giving proof has to be there when it comes to a news article. When in research also you need to give proof, but that proof is derived from earlier works. The eyewitness also can be academic proof, but you will have to give much more than that, because academic journals are more vast. You have to write 5,000 words or 3,000 words or even 1,500 to 2,000 words on one particular thing. Whereas for a news article, the maximum time limit, word limit that you get is 600 words, or if it's a long form, 1200 words. More than that, you cannot write. So within that time, you have to explain what you're writing. Brevity, concise way, brief way, and highly targeted way, you will have to write your news reports. In academic writing, you can be a little more long drawn and lenient. You can explain a bit more. But here you have to give proof. I saw this, then this happening. Bomb attack happening here. How did I see this? I went there, I saw this. And so many people were injured. How do I know so many people were injured? This particular statistic says this. This record with the authorities say this. Have I met anybody who was injured? Yes, I met this person, and he spoke this. What is the eyewitness? A bomb. I saw a plane flowing by, coming towards us during this particular time, and we were having a music festival, and the parachuters dropped in, they started firing. This is eyewitness account. You're again saying this thing that they saw. Okay, so a news report deals with things in a different manner. It is more, what do you say, for the masses. The other thing is for experts. So that kind of the planning, the twisting has to be done there. First is gathering information, then knowing whom you're writing for, and writing as well. And then of course there is something called writer's block, but everybody faces writer's block. How will you tackle writer's block? Writer's block is tackled only by writing more, and this happens in creative writing. I cannot afford to have writer's block because this is my bread and butter. I have to write if I have to live. So when I have to write, if I have to live, I have to eat my food, I have to get money to sustain myself. There is no scope for writer's block. It is a necessity. So writer's block can come when you have the leisure of writing. If at all you want to write, you write. Okay, fine. I don't feel like writing. Why don't I? No, I'm blocked. I can't write. These things come to people who have the leisure of writing. Some people it's a profession. You cannot afford to have writer's block, and that is a good thing because necessity is the mother of so many things, inventions, work. So if it is a necessity, you will write. So otherwise, how to manage writer's block is keep writing. Keep writing so much that writer's block will know that it can't block you. The writer's block will know that it can't block you because you're beyond writer's block. It comes to you like a natural thing. You can't stop a water from flowing. Similarly, you can't stop words from flowing out of a person who's at ease with flowing, who's at ease with words. When it's a way of life, it naturally happens. So make it a way of life. Then I don't think writer's block will affect you. So then, as I said, beginning to write. How do you begin to write? As I said, there is something called a writing thesis statement. I think we discussed about it. How do you write a thesis statement? First, you give a working thesis statement as to what it is about. You can give a fair idea. It can either be one sentence or a one paragraph as to explain what it is about, and then that is like a summary. And a good thesis statement states the writer's clearly defined opinion on a particular topic. That also says about what suppose you embarked on a research topic and you found something and your opinion is this, you can also state that. It generally asserts one main idea and it is stated in specific terms. One idea, it is stated in specific terms. It gives the opinion of the person if at all it has to be given. So thesis statements give a fair idea of what the thesis is going to be. This is with regard to thesis statement. So I'm of course taking a bit of academic writing also, but more than academic writing, I want you all to know about what general writing is, because when you can write generally, whether for academic purpose or for journalistic purpose, writing comes naturally to you. So I would suggest one thing: those people who are interested in pursuing a career in writing, not just journalism, career in writing, whether academic or creative or otherwise, keep a pen and paper with you always and at least write 100 words a day about what has happened in your life. Keep a logbook. Things, make it a habit that words naturally flow, and then all these process, what we are learning, comes naturally. Because I see nowadays there are courses on creative writing. You cannot teach creative writing. You can only tell you how to go about structuring your thoughts or your writing or your what do you say, your urge to write. But the urge to write has to come within. The urge to write will come when you keep writing and it becomes a practice. It's like, hunger. When you feel hungry, you want to eat. So it's a very natural thing. Similarly, make it a very natural thing by writing at least 100 words a day. That is one tip I can tell you if you want to be good writers. So that is one thing. And then you there is if you're going for thesis writing, then many thesis statements will benefit from the addition of an essay map, which is nothing but a brief statement in the introductory paragraph introducing the main points to be discussed in the essay. It's like an essay map that is like, a brief statement in the introductory paragraph. First paragraph itself, they'll have a brief statement telling about the main points that we discussed in the essay. So in addition to suggesting the main points of writing, the essay map provides some other benefits also. Like one is, it will provide a set of guidelines for organizing your writing. That essay map will help you organize your writing. It will also help you from wandering into areas which you need not take into account. I'm saying this purely from the viewpoint of a thesis statement. Okay. And other words, your thesis statement and essay map are skeletal outline for the sequence of paragraphs that you're writing. These two things, thesis statement and essay map, are the framework of whatever you're going to write in the rest of your thesis. It's that important. Essay map is slightly different from mind map. Mind map is organizing your thoughts as it comes down. That is, you gather information and you're organizing that information into a structure, whereas essay map is whatever you're writing, you've written the paragraphs, you are segregating your paragraphs. You've already written your paragraphs and you are giving a structure to the paragraphs. The other thing, mind map, is actually structuring your thoughts. So this is what I found. You are going to derive this from this particular thought. So for that derivation, I have to speak to these people. So this kind of mind map happens at a very elemental level, whereas essay map happens at a very later stage when you are actually writing. So this is the difference between essay map and mind map. So, and then when you write a paragraph, all of you know this is a very simple thing which you've always learned in your what you say, which you're learned in your school and college. You'll need to have an introduction, you'll need to have a body, you'll need to have a conclusion, and all these things. How you do it depends on, how well structured your mind map or your thoughts and your the information that you gathered is. In short, it always depends on, it very 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 clearly depends on how focused you are in finding what you exactly want to write. If you know what you're writing, then the paragraph structure naturally becomes very easy. So you say that this is the body of, this is the introduction of my story, my story. So what are you introducing? So this particular issue, what is my issue all about? That becomes your introduction. Then second body is explaining a bit more about that particular introduction. Third is concluding. Finally, you are deriving your solution or your understanding of the matter becomes the conclusion. So when you are clear about what you want to write, the paragraphs naturally get into sequence. I want to ask you all, just going on saying, because there is we have to finish one module in 2 hours. But if you feel you're not understanding anything, or if you want me to go slow or anything, please feel free to talk. Raise your hands and say you don't understand, or you want me to go slow, or it's boring, ma'am, please spice it up. Something you can say. What is it? Am I going the right way? Yes, please speak.
So far so good, ma. I can say from you, you're going the right way, and but if you can just slow a little bit, that would be helpful.
Yeah, you mean, yeah, I can slow down. The only thing is, I have to finish one module in 2 hours, which is 4 units. That's why I'm speeding it up. But as I said, I can send you the audio version of all this on, the WhatsApp group, so that you can listen to it at leisure. Is that
Understood,
okay?
ma. Thank you. Yes, very very okay. Thank you.
Okay. So that is we were talking about a paragraph. So there are probably, when you actually start writing, you will understand the difference. One is analysis of a paragraph. That is, you have a topic sentence statement, that is a main statement. You have elaboration of the topic sentence, that is within a paragraph itself. You can have very much like, you write an article. I told you, you can have the opening paragraph, which is the introduction, then you have the body of the story, and then you have the conclusion. In a very similar way, even within a paragraph, you can have a topic sentence which opens the tone of the paragraph. Then you have elaboration of the topic sentence, explaining it a little more, and then explaining it a little more. Maybe you could use an illustration for it, some example for it. As I said, you say, okay, there was a bomb here and it went off, killing so many people. Now, people might, if I were the one who were listening to this, they'll say, how do you know that it went off and it killed so many people? Which means that if I give them the example, no, I spoke to the statistics. I spoke to the statistical department of this particular place. They keep an account of how many people are injured and how many people lost their lives during that particular bomb blast. So I took the matter from them. So I put that in my writing, and then the reader is convinced. I'm convinced. Oh, okay. From official people that so many people are. Okay. We tend to believe official documents. So we say, okay, fine. So that way you can give illustrations or examples also. And then finally, within the paragraph itself, you can sum up. So this, I'm breaking down a paragraph further. First, I broke down an article into 3 paragraphs, or 3 group of paragraphs, or 3 paragraphs. That is, one is the introduction, one is the body, and one is the conclusion. Now, within a paragraph itself, I'm breaking it down into 3 or 4. What is the topic statement or the main statement? The idea of the paragraph. What is the idea of the every paragraph is one idea. So what is the idea of the paragraph? And then a little more explanation of that idea, which is the basis of the paragraph. And in order to support it, I again give an example, and finally I give the conclusion of that paragraph itself. So that is the way you structure a paragraph. So that is one thing. I'm sorry. Like, again, you can use something called a transitional devices to actually give coherence to the paragraph. For example, you can write, you can include words and phrases that function as transitional devices. For example, I said, I found out that so many people had died in the bomb blast, and hence I derived that so many people were so many children were orphaned because of this bomb, because of their parents dying. So one is dependent on the other. Or maybe that example is a little too far-fetched. I can say there was a bomb blast in this particular area. As a consequence, so many people lost their life. When I'm giving more examples of the conflict thing, because that is in everybody's mind right now. So that is why I'm saying one particular thing, something happened, as a consequence something else happened. So I am actually linking the two sentences. Such linking can be done among paragraphs also, using words like as a consequence of, for example, but, yet, moreover, later, now. All these things are transitional. That is, from one idea to the other, or linking one sentence to the other sentence, one paragraph to the other paragraph. A transition is being taken place. To smooth the transition, these words are like, or these words or these phrases are like bridges, through which you jump from one sentence to the other sentence, or one idea to the other idea. Am I clear? Because in between, if you don't tell me, I'll keep saying, and if you don't understand, there's no point in my talking so much. That's why I keep asking you. Am I clear?
Madam.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, tell me. Am I clear?
Yeah, madam.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Please, you are clear, but
So,
I have a question.
yes, please tell me.
Yeah, in your presentation, you said in order to convince people about our writing, we could as well include examples. And I think you
Yes.
mentioned a bomb blast and then few people died or a number of people died, and then you include examples. Examples, like, I don't understand that aspect. Is it pictorial example or what kind of examples?
Yeah, you can use a pictorial example also. Suppose you are giving a presentation. You can use a PPT where you can use an example of, you can use pictures, you can use videos. If you have the scope of a visual thing, you can use all that. If you are a visual journalist, you can obviously be in that area, you can take bites of the person. All these things are visual examples. Similarly, written examples also, you can narrate the scene, you can quote people, you can give examples of what is happening, or say you are quoting a particular person who has underwent that particular trauma, or or a graphical explanation of what is happening. All these are examples to substantiate your ideas.
Okay.
Am I clear?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. So,
Oh.
introduction and conclusions. Then finally, when it comes to writing, it's always introduction and conclusion that you remember the most. So, how do you write introduction and conclusions? They have to be very interesting, an arresting, static, or shocking statement. For example, I can give you an account of one crime report that came in, I think, NYT, written by a uh, very eminent crime reporter. I think he later became a journalist, I mean, writer also. I don't remember. In Cold Blood. I don't know who wrote that. There's a book called In Cold Blood. He wrote that book. So, he was earlier a crime reporter with NYT. So, in that, he had written one of the articles that he wrote was, um, there is a man who escaped from police custody, and he ran. He was a criminal and he ran in the night. There is at around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. He gave the police a slip and he's running. Police are after him, and he barges into a bar and he orders a hamburger. And he's about to eat that hamburger when the police comes behind and shoots him, because he's been, I mean, he's already with he has been, he's a notorious criminal. He shoots him. uh, no, he does. He's shot after an encounter. He finds that the police have also come in. Then he tries to defend himself, or he tries to shoot the policeman. In the firing, he dies. So you could write it in a very simple manner, like one history sheeter was killed in an encounter with the police after he gave the police a slip and ran away at this so and so time in this part of this particular place. This is a common way of writing. Do you feel it's interesting? It may be interesting to some because it gives information. Does it give all information? Does it give information? Yes, it gives all the information. One history sheeter ran at this particular moment, gave the police a slip, went, and all information is there. What time, when, how, where, everything is there. How to make it? You know what this person wrote? Very this so and so criminal's name was, let's say, Mr. X. On this fateful day of this particular day, at this particular time, in this township, comma, Mr. X died hungry. Mr. X died hungry. Now, when I read the sentence, I'll be interested to know how he died hungry. Oh God, did he die of malnourishment? Let me see how he died. I'll be forced to this second sentence. Then you can explain in the second sentence. So and so person, a known history sheeter, was giving the police a slip when he found a bar, when he felt hunger pangs in him, and he found a bar and he ran into it and ordered a hamburger. But finding the police behind him, he quickly pulled out his revolver and started firing. In the encounter, this man died, and the hamburger was sitting beside him, waiting to be eaten. Which is a better writing? If you want to speak right now, tell me. Hello, all of you. Which is a better writing?
The second one,
Second one is a, why do you think the second one is a better writing?
because it gives some details, and it's actually more coherent.
It gives a more it gives it arouses your curiosity, isn't it? It asks, it uses
Yeah,
punches, it uses questions, it creates a drama, it creates theatrics, it makes you intriguing. It is so intriguing that
yeah,
it makes you want to know that why was it true. It's like a crime thriller.
sure.
Why? That kind of thing it creates. So that kind of way you could introduce. So introduction can be an arrestic statistic or a shocking statement, a question, a quotation, a relevant story, joke, anecdote, analogy, comparison, contrast, personal statement, statement of a problem, a popular misconception, or anything that you find is creative. It is upon you how you use it. You can use such creativity even in news stories nowadays. Writing, otherwise, usually they say 5 W's and 1 H has to be packed. No more. You can play around with your 5 W's in 1 H. Just that you have to state as clearly and coherently and quickly as possible. That is all. But you can play around. So it depends on you. So a good piece of writing must also create an intrigue and open the sentence as well as a good conclusion for it to be remembered. What begins well has to end well also. So for that, it has to be an evaluation. It could be an evaluation, it could be a restatement, it could be a call for action, it could be a warning, it could be a quotation from an authority, anecdote, rhetorical question. Will women be ever safe? All these things, you could give the statistics on crime against women and then finally conclude it saying all these things lead us to the question, will women be ever safe in this particular place? If there's a question like that, it creates sort of, confusion, drama. It creates a question even within your mind. That is a punchy conclusion. So conclusion also has to be punchy. So as I said, these are the methods in which you structure your writing. Then, how will you organize your writing? You also have theoretically, if you speak, you have forms of discourse when you actually organize your writing. That is, it can either be an exposition or expository discourse. What is an expository discourse? It is probably the most common form of writing. Expository writing has the overall purpose of explaining. As the name says, it expository means it explains. What do you say? It groups, it classifies, it defines. So basically, they answer the basic question of what is it or what does it mean. Full explanation. That is expository discourse. It goes on explaining what it is. Deep explanation. Narrative discourse. And narrative discourse is more about, as you say, some special effects. Just now I told you about a criminal eating a hamburger. It's like a story. You narrate it. That is a narrative discourse. I'm quickly going through it. Then you can look for ideas for narration in your memories, in your childhood, in your friends and favorite places, with your own eyes, what you see, events, participants, imagination. All these things can be narrative. I think you understand what narrative is. Then descriptive discourse. Descriptive discourse is mainly about narration, but it is of a different kind. It is a kind of a picture making, indicating what, like, you go, like what is being done by the war correspondents in a place. You go to a place and you see what it is, and then with their words they create a picture in front of you as to how the scenario is. So the description is, it's from a particular or general event or a place, or it could also be from general to particular. That is, you could actually go to a particular place and then you could speak about it as a general. For example, you could go to a particular place. Let me again take this Gaza thing. You could go to one locality of Gaza where bombing is done, and then you could speak about Gaza in general. This particular place, such and such things, smokes billowing out, people are, you can describe that place, and then you can say Such occurrences are there everywhere across Gaza. So which means from a particular you're going to a general, or from a general also you can go to a particular. You can speak about Gaza is burning. Let's go to a particular place, and then you can go there and describe it. So description can be in both ways. So it's like it's like a long shot. Like when you actually videograph, you see how a long shot panning and all this. That is all description. So a descriptive discourse is basically speaking more about as and how you see or how you perceive. Narration is you talk from your experiences, childhood, all these things. That is more creative than argumentative discourse. Argumentative discourse is you speak about one particular thing and then say, because of this thing happened, or because of thing that. So that is kind of you are arguing, you are proving a point even within your discourse. That can also be the texture of your writing. For example, it can be of two ways. One is induction and deduction. Inductive reasoning, two ways of reasoning can actually lay the foundation of argumentative discourse. That is, inductive reasoning is a way of enabling us to make general statements from particular examples and evidence. Like, as I said, just before I told you about the Gaza thing, you go to a particular thing and you say this thing is happening, and then you make a generalized statement. That is inductive reasoning. The opposite is deductive reasoning. That is, you can begin with a general concept and then you can come to a sub-concepts or specific details. That is deductive reasoning. This pattern is usually useful when you want to announce your conclusions or recommendations quickly. For example, you come to a general concept like, for example, how will you say? Women everywhere are being, what is one? I cannot think of any particular matter right now, but it's like, you are giving a blanket statement about something and then you're deriving something from it. Let me find good examples right now, because I'm going through this in a very fast manner. I'm not able to think about it, but in our group, we'll discuss about this deductive reasoning. That is, you give a general statement and you come to sub-concepts or other details. Like, detailed explanations. You say, okay, the women everywhere are face the brunt of conflict. Women and children face the brunt of conflict in most particular times, most of the times. Then you can come to why does this happen, the reason why it happens, and explaining why it happens. This is deductive reasoning, deductive way of writing, and that because of that you come to the conclusion that women have and children, there should be laws for women and children so that in a conflict zone they are well protected. So this is deductive reasoning or deductive arguments. So which you can, these are the ways you can structure your writing by adopting discourses. Then actual writing process, you have to write the first draft. As I said, this much is pre-writing. Now it is writing. First is writing the first draft, then revising the first draft. First you write the whatever you want to write coherently. You have made a mind map, you have made a structure, you have adopted a discourse, or you have adopted you have decided who you are writing for, and then you arrange it. Then you start writing and you write the first draft. You arrange it in paragraphs. Each paragraph, within the paragraph also you rate the ideas, and then finally you put it down and then you rewrite it again. You write it again. Because after reading the draft, you will find out what have you left out, what have you included that you need to, and then you don't need to, and what have you taken out which you have to include, whether you can make this draft, achieve the goal of conveying the matter properly. All these questions have to come during that time. Then you refine it, you add or you subtract and you refine, and then you submit it to the editing desk. Either you give it to somebody who can edit, or you can self-edit, but it is always better to give it to somebody else to edit so that that person can give you another opinion. Editing is a careful reading of the draft to ensure that everything is the way you want it to be. So that is one thing. And then editing needs a very strict scrutiny. They look at the sentences, vocabulary, the words, does it actually explain what you want to say? Then format, visual aids, everything will come under. Like if photographs, Is the photograph that is being submitted, does it go well with the article? All these things will come under editing. And finally, after editing, it will go for proofreading. Proofreading is usually to make sure that there are no errors, everything is coherent. You will read slowly and steadily and check the punctuation, pay attention to capitalization, missing extra commas, colons, grammatical problems. Then numbers, then you look at numbers, if numbers are right, if factually also if it is right. Finally, all these things will be checked for errors, that the story is checked for, that is proofreading. So this is the methodology that is followed. First, as I said, reading, pre-writing, writing, and then lastly rewriting. And after that, we also added one more, and that is editing. So this much is the writing part of it. The process of writing, as they call it. This is the process of writing in the schedule as you follow in general. So any doubts on this? I'm sure there might be questions, or people might say that I'm too fast. Anything, please speak up. We can find a solution for it later on, but you need to speak that out. Do you need a little more of insight into it, or can we just go on?
I think we can go on.
Okay, we can go on. Bored, all of you, or bored, or
Yes, madam, we can go on.
Yes, let's go on,
okay.
please.
So now we'll come into this is the structure of writing. This is generally what you write. And now we'll come into what is known as the qualities of writing. Now, qualities of writing is generally journalism says quality of writing should be brevity, clarity, and simplicity, and avoid rhetorics. All these things are generally qualities of good writing. Economy of work, brevity, say as many things as possible. This in as many less words as possible. Nobody wants to hear people like I'm doing, going on talking, and people will say, "What the heck? Why is she talking so much? Can she just finish it off in 2 sentences?" Writing is what you do when you write. Finish it off. That is writing. You might say that, but no, I have to speak because that is that the task is assigned to me. But generally, writing is economy of words. Keep it as brief as possible. Brevity is one of the hallmarks of good writing, which is the reason why you have a grammatical practice called précis writing. That is, they'll give you a big article and they'll ask you to sum it up to maybe 2,000 words. They'll ask you to sum it up in 580 words. 500 words, which means you have to really understand, focus and understand what is being said and write it in as many less words and more possible. Cut the flab, make it thin and lean and shapely. The writing has to be shapely. So cut the flab and write what is needed. That is précis writing, or that is economy of words, which is very important. Um, um, the sentence should have no unnecessary words. It should have no unnecessary paragraph. Should have no unnecessary sentences, and everything should be just what is necessary. For the same reason, the drawing should not have unnecessary lines. A machine should not have unnecessary part. There's no need for that. Just like a person, for your particular height, you just need to have a certain weight. Anything more than that is unnecessary. So similarly, for words also, for writing also, certain sentences you don't need unnecessary words. Certain ideas you don't need unnecessary sentences. Cut the flab and write what is required. That is economy of words. Next is simplicity. As I just gave you the opening example of mine was just that. When I am in locomotion, that's a little obtuse. Say it simply. When I was traveling by train, that is more than enough. So speak in a very as you speak. Try to write the way you speak in a little more refined manner. That's all. Grammatically refined manner. That is writing, because the other person should understand. Why do you write or speak or say anything? For the other person to understand you. So make it as simple as possible. Then clarity. What you're writing should be understood by the other. So you should be clear about that is what I said, understanding your topic or subject. You should be clear what you write. So you have to write it in a clear manner. That clarity aspect only we discussed. Last module is entirely about that. Structure your writing, understand what you're writing, group your paragraphs, do this, do that, discourse, follow the discourses. All these things add to the clarity of writing or structure of writing. Structure adds to clarity so that the other person can understand. Then the rhetorical stance. Any kind of writing should be human. This means it should speak to the people whom you are trying to address. So you have to you have to decide the rhetorical sense. Whom are you speaking to? That stance has to come into your writing. Who's the writer, or who's his or her reader? Why is she addressing? Why is she trying to speak to that person or write to that person? What is the relationship of that person with the subject matter? I'm a journalist, so that is my relationship with the subject matter. And why does she want the readers to read that subject matter? Because they need to understand what is it. So that rhetorical stance also need to be. That is one of the reasons I think the earlier module we discussed. What is the subject matter and who are your readers? These things come under that. So again, paragraph, I think we spoke about, functioning of a paragraph, characteristic of a good paragraph. There has to be unity in the paragraph. I told you opening sentence, then there has to be a backup sentence, then there have to be explanations, and there has to be conclusion. So there is to be unity in the paragraph. It has to be one coherent read. There has to be a flow in your paragraph. As I said, transitional words has to be used so that you structure your paragraph as one small, beautiful stream flowing with no pebbles and with no big rocks in between. It shouldn't be, it shouldn't hit anywhere. So there should be unity and coherence in your sentence and completeness. You have to finish an idea. If you're starting an idea, you have to finish an idea. Don't leave it vague. Then structure of a paragraph, I think I told you, controlling a topic sentence, the explanation of the controlling idea, examples, transition, these were there in the earlier thing also. Then purpose statements, as I told you, the purpose of it is for this. You can also mention that the purpose of this particular studies, that is usually done in theoretical writing. Otherwise, news writing, the purpose has to be unveiled in the paragraph. You have to have that focus. What am I writing it for? That has to be everywhere. That's the focus of the paragraph. So, process of writing a paragraph is decide the topic and purpose of writing. I think we spoke about that. Then the controlling idea of use graphic organizers or mind maps. We discussed that also. Then style. What is style? Different kinds of styles of writing are there. Each person may have his own or her own style. There can be a concise style. There can be a plain style. What is a concise style? Concise style is as less as possible. It depends on the person. He has got a lot of clarity and very less words, very figures of speech is employed sparingly, ideas are not repeated, there is no flamboyance, but concise, precise, straight style. The clarity is not lost, but journalists usually use this. Plain style is prose, simple, easily understandable. Three things govern the style, that is purity, propriety, precision. This is also used mostly by journalists. Reporting events on news, that is usually done in this. Then elegant or graceful style. Elegant or graceful style is, charm, perfect harmony of thought, diction, ease, refinement. You use metaphors, allusions, all these things you use, usually employed by feature writers or creative writers. Then forcible vehement style. This forcible style is plain, distinct, impressive, which reveals a writer who's firmly convinced of the truth or of the idea he or she is expressing. For example, if you are a plain writer, all vehement style, you have to something. That writing is writing. Arguments are vigorous, and writer has made his stand very clear through that. All these things are vehement style. And forcibly style is tempered with a highly excited state of feeling. We get what we call a vehement state. Passive and active structures. You know what passive and active structures are. That use of passive voice is usually present in expository or argumentative writing. You use passive structures, and when you write news, usually it is active voice that is used. Um, you know, uh, it's generally important to use active voice when you're writing news because that creates an impact. Then attributes of a good style is be brief, bring in humor, sense, vitality, imagination. All these things can add to your style. It is basically style is your personal thing. You books are which you can read to improve your style, but style comes when you actually keep writing more and express yourself as freely as possible. Your style evolves. That is style. Usually, style is more of an individual trait. Okay, so um, I'm sorry. So that is style. So to sum it up, requisites for a good style is good knowledge of grammar, normalization to avoid too many pronouns and adjectives, try and avoid all that. It creates a kind of a rhetoric. Like if you put a lot of adjectives, then use discourse markers to indicate relationship between sentences and ideas. Try to, make a and that discourse has to be consistent. Like if you're using an argumentative discourse, state it and then state your viewpoint and then bring the entire article around that particular viewpoint. So discourse markers indicate relationship between sentences and ideas. So your sentences actually explain your ideas in an argumentative manner. The varying between loose and periodic sentences according to the need. Like you have to relate to different kinds of sentences. What periodic sentence your one be dependent on the previous clause. It's kind of a deductive reasoning. So that thing has to be and sometimes you have to make independent sentences. These both things have to be used simultaneously. Don't always kind of. I cannot explain style to you. So you have to nurture it by writing. Then avoid repetition. Use active voice as much as possible. Use good-natured humor whenever possible. Passive voice also you can use, but then use it in style. Avoid cliches, being convinced of the topic idea, have respect for the reader, which is very important. Avoiding unnecessary words and redundancy. Cut the flat, write what is needed. Being clean and honest with the reader, being convinced of the topic, use an effective diction and avoid use of the avoiding the use of the word. Like correct diction, you understand what is actual meaning and then use the word. So, which comes by extensive reading and writing. Style is something that I spoke to, maybe it seemed vague when I spoke. It is mainly because it cannot be taught. There is your module might have it. That's just an outline. You have to develop your own style by reading, by writing, by as I said, 100 words. You please write at least 100 words on what you saw, what you underwent particularly. Slowly every day and improvise on it. So that way you can improve your style and read more, read good literature more. Literature means not just books, articles, news articles. Read good writing more and more. That is so. That is one thing. Then you have, as I said, writing for print. Writing for print media is whatever I spoke about. I think it incorporated that also. When you write for newspaper, there is hard news, which is very strong news that heavily depends upon 5 Ws and 1 H. What are the 5 Ws and 1 H? If you all know, 5 Ws and 1 H. Anyone? There are a couple of journalists here, right? You might know what 5 Ws and 1 H is.
Yes, please. What
are the
why?
5 Ws and 1 H?
What,
yes.
why?
What, why, where, when. Who
and
and
who and how.
yes, very good. So 5 W's are 1 H covers as much as facts as possible. And you have to arrange it in an inverted pyramid manner. What is an inverted pyramid manner? That is the most important stuff comes right at the top. 5 W's in 1 H comes right at the top, and then as you write the article, the importance of the whatever you're writing tapers down, which means the most important thing will come right at the top. If you're talking about a particular incident that has happened, who, what, where, how, when, and what, when, and why comes right at the top. Then the rest of the things keep improvising, or you keep explaining the 5 W's in 1H. Why do you do this inverted pyramid method? Because when it goes into the print, or when you go even in on air, when it goes, reporters and editors or production people, they will cut your story according to the ad space or according to the time on air that is available. And what they do, they won't cut from the top, they'll cut from the bottom. So if you're writing the most important things down, the most important things will get cut. People who are reading you or hearing you will not understand what the matter is. So in order that you, if you are writing hard news, if you are reporting news, hard news, it's always important to state the most important things right at in the top. As I said, writing effectively, the purpose of what you are reporting, why you are reporting, is right at the top. And then the explanation, expository, discourse, argument, everything comes down, so that even if you cut it out, people won't lose anything. Okay, they'll still understand what it is. So that is hard news. What is soft news? Soft news is features. You're writing about a celebrity, not what he's doing. That can also be hard news. But suppose you're writing about a lifestyle thing, you're writing about a feature news, or maybe you're going to, as I said, this particular conflict itself, you're going there, and you know how people are, uh, you know, making do with whatever little is left of the food, and that is being written about in a very featurist manner. It's an expository kind of, you know, explanation, or it's descriptive. So that can be part of your news feature. That's a soft story. When I say soft story, please don't think that it can only be associated with celebrity news or entertainment news. No, it can also be news features, but written it in an explaining manner, in a featurish manner. That can be soft news. Soft news can be of two different ways. One is news stories or news features, and one is very, very soft stories.
No, we can. You actually left. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Can
can
you
hear
hear me?
you.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, fine. So let me take it here itself. So what I was trying to tell you is news is basically news that is associated with news itself, but it could be featureish. It could be, it could have a delayed lead. Otherwise, you have a direct lead. What happened, when, how, where. Here, the not all 5 W's and 1H need to be there right in the beginning. Some of the 5 W's and 1H can be there in the second paragraph or the third. Or maybe the most important among the 5 W's and 1H, you can explain it, what the matter is, to open your, that is, as you say, the purpose of your writing. And then the rest of it can be used to explain the purpose of your writing. So all 5 W's and 1H need not be there on top. maybe the what is more important than the where there, or maybe why is more important than who. So you can explain that and then come and explain related to that why or who or whatever is important. There might be the other w's and h which are related to that you can explain later, and as you go you build the article as you go, your purpose of your writing you build up. So that is soft writing. So then for that you need interesting headlines, an angle to the story. As I said, background research. I'm not explaining all this because we've dealt with research and all, how to gather information and all before. Then, as I said, character or style, that is character of writing. Readers feel connected to the characters if you are covering a story of a larger issue. Introducing a character tend to make a difference. So you can attribute it, you can, as I said, you can, if you're going to write about a conflict, you can particularly target one particular character in that and say this person was playing on the road at that particular time when he suddenly heard an explosion. So you're actually explaining about an explosion that is happening on the Gaza streets, but you are saying the story through one particular person. So you're picking a character. That is a style of writing. That's what I said. You develop your style. Use of quotes. Quotes are important to explain, then convey a message at the end. You have to conclude it in such a manner that somewhere you have to explain and convey a message. So that is soft news. That is soft feature writing. Soft news writing. That is also called news features. Then you have feature writing. Feature writing is more creative. You have an informative feature. You inform the person about, like, how to do certain things. That is also feature story. Human interest features. For example, a man is very good in walking with his hands. So that is a human interest thing. People are interested to know. So that kind of thing is a human interest. Or you have developed a machine which will help you do all things while you take rest. So that's human interest thing. So different kind of human interest, something that interests human beings. Historical feature, satirical features, how to do features, that is, DIY stories that you find in lifestyle stories. Lifestyle segment in most newspapers have this thing. How to, make a particular thing, or how to get more, what do you say? More creative in so many days time. So these things are creative features. No, sorry, how to features. Then features on seasonal themes. For example, right now the Navratri festival is going on in India, so you write a feature on this Navratri. Or maybe the music festival happening somewhere, you write about that. That is feature on seasonal themes. Then article writing, it's, you find article writing is also basically that these are all articles only. Like what you are writing is features, everything is article. I'm not going to repeat that. Style, structure, offer solutions. You need to be concise, precise, research your idea, know your reader, find the motivation. All these things are part of article writing. Editorial writing. Editorial writing is a big part of newspaper, where editorial is the opinion piece or the face of the newspaper. Newspaper usually deals with news, but editorials is mostly about views. That is, in nowhere else can a newspaper write about the write views. They can only say what is actually happening. Only in editorial can they express the opinion. So not the personal opinion of the newspaper. That is editorial writing. Editorial writing is usually done by people who are slightly senior. It attempts to inform or explain, persuade or convince. They convince people, like through the editorial they'll convince the readers, or to think in a particular manner, or explore a different kind of thought, or stimulate insight in an entertaining or humorous manner. All these things are editorial writing. So different kinds of editorial writing is also there. Then general length of an editorial writing in an Indian newspaper is usually 300 to 400 words, but sometimes it may be longer also, but people don't usually read long editorials, because ultimately you tend to read newspaper for news. Editorial is read by people who have a lot of time. Otherwise also people read, politicians and all read news, you know what is the stand of the newspaper. So an editorial writer's job is to study, write the piece according to the style of the newspaper, not as individual style. So that is one particular thing about editorial writing. So there are specialists who write on that. Every newspaper will have specialists. For example, economics, one person will write. International affairs, one person will write. Depending on what the view of the newspaper is, he or she will explore that area of in which he or she has expertise in. That is editorial writing. So headlines, how to write headlines. I'll give you a best way to write headlines. Please write Twitter feeds. If you write Twitter feeds, that is the best way you can develop headline writing, because Twitter feeds usually they don't write long. They just write about 15 words or something, even less than that. So whatever you saw, the gist of that makes the headline. So that kind of writing is usually followed in Twitter feeds. So write Twitter feeds and improve your headline. That is my suggestion. It's not there in the textbook. So what should be the headline thing? It should be accurate. You should know what you're writing about. So it's like, for example, there is a short circuit that happened in a hotel. So you can write short circuit causes fire at the hotel. So this is very short, crisp and accurate. That's what happened. So write that. Or hundreds feared dead in an accident, in a train accident. Everything is explained in as simple as less words as possible. That is headline. You can't write an essay in a headline. So that is headline. Logical. It should be logical also. It has to be, you can sensationalize sometimes. Doesn't matter if it is a sensational story. It's best to avoid sensation, but hence headlines should otherwise be logical. For example, defense minister likes traveling in a metro train is a headline of a story about a defense minister who likes to travel in metro train as an austerity drive. If he wants to save money for the people, you can say, okay, defense minister likes to travel in a metro train. So that makes news, because defense minister will have a coterie of cars which is traveling with him. That person is traveling in a train. It makes a difference. So that makes a headline. But by doing this, he wants common people to follow him. But if I say that Isaac wants to travel in a train, or Aparna, I want to travel in a train, will it make news? No, it doesn't make logic, because I'm just a common person. I'm not a defense minister. It doesn't make news. So logic is one thing that you have to employ. Then be specific. For example, students on strike vandalize vice chancellor's office, 3 injured. Be specific, to the point. As I said, be accurate. Headline reveals that headline writer has no clear idea about what the headline should say. Therefore, there is a need to identify the most important aspect of an incident for highlighting in the headline. You should keep the purpose and your target audience in your mind. That is, if you write something like, students on strike vandalize VC's office, 3 injured, that means that there is a need to identify the most important aspect of an incident for highlighting in the headline. What is the most important aspect in this? That is, they vandalize VC's office and 3 people are injured. So the purpose is what? The purpose is you are clearly explaining what happened. And the target audience is you're telling people that something like this is happening in a college. So that has to be set clear. Then headlines should be concise, because it goes in a larger font size. So it has less words as possible, because as you know, every newspaper, the headlines will go in a bigger font. So again, as I said, these things are how you write a headline. Then writing intros. I think we discussed about introduction in paragraph. Same thing. It has to be newsworthy. 5 W's and 1 H has to be followed. Keep it simple. Intro should not be more than 15 to 40 words according to Reuters. Some people cut it down even lesser. Then there can be descriptive intros, but that is for feature writing. Then style is, as I said, it has to be developed. Usually news style is 5 W's and 1 H. Creative style, you can develop your own creative style. Importance of facts, that is a no compromising. Facts, whatever you write, creative, factual, news features, news, no compromise on facts. Facts has to be correct. That's what we face right now. A lot of fake news in the system. Avoid direct quotes. That is, if you are writing an intro, don't start your intro with a direct quote. It is not proper. Although people are doing it a lot right now, don't do that. It's always better to state it, rather explain it. It's better to be in a reported speech or a direct speech than in a quote. Quotes can be used in the body of the story. Then, as much as possible, use active voice, because active voice has the punch, rather than saying I was bitten by a dog, rather than the dog bit me is more emphatic than I was bitten by a dog. So be more emphatic while you write. Then magazine writing, as I said, it's extended feature story. You have articles on personality. You can bring in analytical and interpretative writing. Travelogues are also magazines. So magazine story is entirely feature writing, news features and features. So you cannot call it completely, hard news. It's not entirely hard news, it's news features and feature writing. So that is about writing for print media. Then you have one more module, which is translation. So translation translation is it will requires, it's not it's a bit cut away from the whole process, because translation usually is used basically when you have to switch over from one language to another language, especially vernacular language to English or vice versa. So I will take this for you in a small separate thing. I mean, because it is not part of whatever we discussed till now. So it could be a little jarring if I take it along with the main thing. Right now, translation generally means switching over from one language to another. For example, you are a vernacular newspaper person and you're writing in English. You have to write in English. So you are a writer of English in a vernacular, in a regional space, and what you do is you look at the vernacular stuff and then you translate it. This happens usually in for example, I'll give you an example of a website called Miharu is a Maldivian website. It is in the Maldivian language. They are coming up with a English website called The Edition. The Edition is their English website. So the Maldivian language newspaper, Meharo, is a legacy newspaper in Maldives with 70 years of legacy. They have this website which is high and flying, which is beautiful, which is, because it's like #1 website in Maldives. Now that is in their local language. The amount of stories that they get is immense, because there are a lot of people working for it, veteran journalists working for it. But Edition does not have that much of a standing, because in Maldives, English writing is still fledgling. So what do? They take from Miharu, translate it to English, and they put it into Edition. Also, they are trying to slowly do independent work, but that is just grooming. But major part still comes to keep the Edition going. They have to resort to translation. So translation journalism still has a lot of scope, but that requires a little more. Let us not club it along with the general writing lecture, because now I have discussed about writing for newspaper, then how to structure your writing, basics of writing. Along with it, let's not club translation. So next class, when I'll start with translation and then move on to the next module. Is it okay? Is it okay? Please reply. I can't
Madam.
hear
Okay.
this. So if you could just
Okay.
leave a message if it is okay,
This is
then
okay.
I can know that.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, it is okay.
Yes or no?
Madam, please say next class you are starting with. I didn't get it clear.
She said we are starting with translation next class.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, madam, are you there? Hello?
I think she's having network issue. Let's just give her
Yes.
some time.
Okay.
Yes or no?
Yeah,
Hello?
we've all agreed that
Hello,
yes,
can you hear
our
me now? I logged in with my mobile itself because in between the charge had gone. So, can we? I'll take this module as part of my next lecture because, as I said, because it requires a separate treatment. So, next lecture was supposed to be tomorrow, but I think we'll discuss in the group as to when we can position it. Because yesterday I had only 2 people who came in, because of which it had to be rescheduled. Is that okay,
yeah, it's okay.
Christina? Okay, okay.
It's
So can we
okay.
call it quits now? We'll
All
meet,
right.
we'll discuss when the next lecture is, and then we'll meet accordingly.
Okay,
All right.
madam, before you go,
Hello?
yeah, I said before you go, during the course of your presentation, you made mention of useful softwares to be used when forming uh, idea three and softwares to use in translation. It will be helpful if you just maybe write down the softwares and other helpful tools that you have for us, please. Thank you.
No, I'll write down the name of the software in your group, as well as we'll fix a time for the next meeting and then meet, and then maybe we'll have a brush up of what we have done, and then we'll go to translation and then the other units. I think I'll have to finish the other writing unit. This is the first of the unit. I'll have to finish 4 more units. So 4 more blocks. So we'll finish that also. And meanwhile, as and when there are doubts, please ask in the group itself. And as I said, I'll send you the audio messages also and the name of the software also. Okay. So let's discuss on the group
Okay.
as to when we are having it next time. Okay.
Okay, thank you so very much. Yeah,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining, all of you, and have a nice rest of the Sunday, whatever is left of it.
it's nice having you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right.